It's Monday, August 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Outside convection associated with Tropical Storm Lara has resulted in areas of scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms across Jamaica. As a result, there is a flash flood warning for low-lying and flood-prone areas of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston and St. Andrew, in effect until Monday evening. 2 days of heavy rains have again wreaked havoc on the island's infrastructure, tearing up roads and leaving a number of Jamaicans marooned. Marlon Samuels reports.
The heavy rains that have been lashing the island over the last 2 days have resulted in flooding in communities across the island. At the foot of Jack's Hill in Barbados, material carried into the drains by the rain caused the more than 5-foot deep drain to appear to be one with land. A handful of residents struggled valiantly to remove the blockage. The rains kept on doing their handiwork as fast as they cleared it, making it risky for motorists. Motorists should use alternative routes and avoid traveling through the sandy gully in St. Andrew as a result of heavy flood waters in the corporate area.
Yo! Look on sandy gully. Watch ya, man. Yo, this rough. Right at sandy gully. It's not pretty at all. Watch ya, man. See if I'm on brave enough to go through it. Yeah, man.
The normally bustling halfway tree in Kingston was a virtual ghost town.
So on this and there, flood out and everything can't go through. Me I try to go through still.
The rain also wreaked havoc on the island's infrastructure. The main road between Gordon Town and Papine in St. Andrew was blocked due to landslide and flooding. The showers destroyed a number of roads, including Damhead in St. Catherine.
See, that made come down. The road black half. That made. You know which river this? Going into Hope River. Man, terrible out here.
They a joke thing. You nobody can cross it. River this, yeah? People want to cross it and can't cross it. Who understand can cross it? Make who understand cross it, and so they get. Fisherman.
The bridge along the Trinityville Main Road in St. Thomas was swept from its moorings and sent sailing down the river by raging flood waters, leaving residents of Cedar Valley, Georgia, and Trinityville marooned. It is too early to give an estimate, but the cost to the country from the relentless rain over the past 2 days could be staggering. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
A flash flood warning is in effect for low-lying flood-prone areas of all parishes. It is to remain in effect until 8 p.m. on Monday. The flash flood warning was issued due to Tropical Storm Lara, which has been impacting the island. Now, the Meteorological Service of Jamaica says at 4 a.m. the center of Tropical Storm Lara was located near latitude 20.8 degrees north, longitude 78.9 degrees west. Lara is moving toward the west-northwest near 33 kilometers per hour, and this general motion with some decrease in forward speed is expected over the next couple of days. A turn toward the northwest is forecast by Wednesday. On the forecast track, the center of Lara will move over the Caribbean Sea just offshore the southern coast of Cuba and move into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico by early Tuesday morning. On Sunday, the island recorded its highest single-day total of new COVID-19 cases, as 116 cases were reported. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton gave an update at a virtual press conference at the ministry's New Kingston offices on Sunday.
The past 24 hours, the country has recorded 116 new samples that have tested positive for COVID-19. That's in the last 24 hours. The total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Jamaica is now 1,529, The newly confirmed cases are 68 females and 48 males, with ages ranging from 17 to 85 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 51, in St. Thomas, 10, in St. Catherine, 37, in Clarendon, 7, in St. Elizabeth, 1, in Hanover, 1, in St. Anne, 2, in St. Mary, 2, in Manchester, 4, and in Westmoreland, 1. 5 of the new cases are contacts of confirmed cases. 1 was imported from the United Kingdom. 110 of these cases are under investigation. And this, of course, means significant work in contact tracing, which would have commenced once we determine the actual status of the sample. So we should have started as of now, today. In terms of recoveries, 2 additional cases have recovered and been released from care, and total recoveries are now at 819. 71% of patients were repatriated, 71 patients, were repatriated to their countries of origin, and there are now 622 or 40.7% active cases currently under observation. There are 4 moderately ill patients and 4 critically ill patients at this point in time.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says there is no shortage of beds in the public health system. He addressed the matter at a digital press brief on Sunday.
I know one of the uncertainties that has been circulating today surrounds concern about COVID beds and our COVID wards and equipment, specifically related to a circular linked to the University Hospital of the West Indies, which they have put out a statement on to say it is incorrect. I've asked them to clarify further, which they will over the next day or so. But it has created some anxieties because the impression has been created that somehow, because of the high number of positive cases, we are now facing a shortage of beds generally because of what has happened, because of the memo coming out of or attributed to the university and the medical officer, the senior medical officer there.
He was referring to a message shared on social media earlier that day that the university hospital was at capacity for COVID-19 patients and persons were waiting on beds. The message was deemed fake news by the hospital.
Just to clarify, as at 3 p.m. on Sunday, August 23rd, of the 315 COVID beds that are available throughout the public health system, 73 are currently occupied in hospitals across the island, with the greatest admission at the Kingston Public Hospital and at the University Hospital of the West Indies. So 73 of the 315, that would represent about, 25% or thereabouts, or a little above 25% of the COVID beds across the public health system are in fact occupied. Now, it does show an increase in the number of beds being occupied, but it's certainly a far way from any assumption or perception that the COVID wards or COVID beds, which essentially are isolation areas, have been exhausted. We still have sufficient capacity to deal with additional cases that require hospitalization.
The increase in COVID-19 cases has persons worried about the general elections to be held on September 3. Our reporter Carol Francis spoke with Chairman of Citizens Action for Free and Fair Elections Cafe, Dr. Lloyd Barnett, about that fear.
The general election is to be held on September 3. We're currently in a COVID-19 pandemic, as well as bracing for the hurricane season. If, God forbid, there is a spike in COVID-19 or a hurricane, can the elections be put off, and for how long?
Well, the elections can be put off in the case of a pandemic for up to 30 days. This is an unprecedented situation. We have never had that since we have had universal adult suffrage. So that it will pose very serious challenges if the incidents were to increase dramatically, or even more dramatically than it has been increasing in the last 48 hours. But the conduct of the elections is so important to the democratic process that the authorities will need to seek to work out the best way to overcome the problem. One of the things may be to have more polling stations so that there's a greater spread of persons over the particular areas and less congestion and longer hours. So that I think we have to be very flexible because we're dealing with an unprecedented situation.
What happens if there's a hurricane?
It can be postponed. We have had weather disturbances that have resulted in elections in a particular area or constituency being adjourned until another day. So that is not as great a problem as a pandemic in relation to the conduct of the elections.
The upcoming national debates will be held under the strictest COVID-19 protocols. That assurance from Jamaica Debates Commission Chairman Noel DaCosta.
As you are aware, the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19, has led to the entire island of Jamaica being under manners, with special orders and protocols on gatherings being enforced from time to time. This had led to debates that are being held at the Creative Production and Training Center, CPTC, being done with very different arrangements driven by obvious physical distancing for debaters, questioners, moderators, and production team members. As a result, there will be no studio audience, and there will be frequent and specific sanitization protocols observed for workers and others involved in the debates. There will also be consistent sanitization of the facilities before and after the debates.
Mr. DaCosta was speaking at a virtual press conference on Saturday. The debates will be held on August 25, 27 and 29 and will cover social issues, finance and economics, as well as leadership. Prime Minister Andrew Holness will be suspending his own political campaigning because of the COVID-19 spike. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton confirmed that this is to reduce the potential for further spread of the virus. The Prime Minister has come in for criticism, especially on the weekend when his drive-through motorcade in Mandeville attracted hundreds of people not masked and not practicing social distancing. On Friday, Holness announced that the political motorcades were prohibited in a bid to contain the spread of COVID-19. To enable political parties and their candidates for the September 3 general election to continue campaign activities in communities, the Prime Minister noted that community drive-throughs would be permitted. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson is recovering from flu-like symptoms after testing positive for COVID-19. The Police Information Arm, the Corporate Communications Unit, CCU, says he is in isolation at home. According to the CCU, the Commissioner's immediate support staff are all being tested and have been placed under quarantine, and sections of his office have also been closed for sanitization. Major General Anderson is calling on all members of the force, particularly those on the front line, to take all necessary precautions as they carry out their daily functions. Night courts in St. Catherine, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Thomas and Clarendon have been suspended with immediate effect as a result of the new curfew measures imposed in these parishes. The Judiciary of Jamaica is advising that the public that people who had matters scheduled for night courts in the aforementioned parishes are being asked to contact the respective courts for further information. Time to bring you up to speed with the financial markets. Here now is the business report.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by over 1,300 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 81 stocks, of which 38 advanced, 28 declined, and 15 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 32.10 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Barita Investment Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica, and CAC 2000 Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments, Access Financial Services Limited, and Cargo Handlers Limited. 138 Student Living Variable Preference, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Blue Power Group Limited traded firm. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 3.8 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 2.2 million units and Pulse Investments Limited with 1.8 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, August 21, ended trading at $151.17. The Canadian dollar sold for an average of $114.94. The pound sterling traded for $198.76, and the euro ended trading at $180.16. Crude oil prices rose on Monday as storms closed in on the Gulf of Mexico, shutting more than half its oil production, and on signs of progress in development of a COVID-19 treatment. Brent crude futures rose 33 cents to $44.68 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 32 cents to $42.66 a barrel. And that's it for the business report. I'm Carol Francis in for Gabriel Thompson.
In regional news, the COVID-19 death toll in the Bahamas continues to rise. The country's Ministry of Health recorded 2 additional deaths, bringing the total death toll to 29.
Victims are 2 females of New Providence, a 45-year-old who passed away on Friday night and a 63-year-old who died early Saturday morning. It's the 7th consecutive day a COVID-19 death has been recorded in the Bahamas. Meantime, the running tally of infections shot up by an additional 62 cases, 28 of those cases here in the capital, 7 in Abaco, 6 on Bimini, 4 on Grand Bahama and Acklands, 2 on Exuma and Cricket Island, and 1 in Inagua. There are 8 cases pending locations. There are now 1,765 cases nationally. Just over 1,500 are active cases, with 83 people hospitalized.
Barbados residents now have access to electric buses on the roadways. The move is set to alleviate transport woes in the country. The details in this Barbados Today news report.
Government is taking steps to alleviate the transport woes facing commuters as some of the 33 newly acquired electrical buses began operating on the country's roads over the weekend. Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Transport Board, Fabian Wharton, also revealed that 17 buses from the aging fleet have been retrofitted with new engines and transmissions.
Notwithstanding the addition of these units to the board's fleet, we have implemented over the last 2 years measures to relieve the pain and suffering of our commuters. It is no secret that our fleet is an aging one. However, we have been able through a special program with our partners Simpson Motors and L&N to retrofit at this stage 17 buses with new engines and transmissions, which have seen tremendous cost savings to the board on the maintenance costs of these units. This program will continue, and by the end of the going into the fourth quarter, it is expected that we should have 31 of these units in total in our fleet. We continue the assistance of the Transport Authority to expand the Transport Augmentation Program, commonly referred to as TAP. This program consists of privately owned vehicles, 14-seaters, minibuses, and coaches, deployed and operated on the board's routes and schedules. There are currently 71 units registered in this program, and interest remains high. TAP, retrofit project, and now 33 electric buses, we are surely on a pathway to relieve the pain and suffering of some of our commuters.
In Trinidad and Tobago, food security became a topic of discussion early in the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Many were forced to look at ways to put food on the table from home. After this need came the gardeners and yardners. More in this report.
When TTT News visited the yard market in Chase Village on Sunday, it was no surprise to find that the couple behind the initiative were themselves agriculturalists. Agriculture economist Omadath Maraj and his wife Gayatri said they recognized very early that with so many people attempting to grow their own food, a forum was needed to bring these non-conventional farmers together.
So the yard market was born 3 months ago. This is the third iteration, and it's a forum really to encourage like-minded people to share their resources and to also participate. So in this forum, we've also had other home gardeners with produce to sell primarily. We've been able to offer differentiated seedlings, primarily heirloom plants and different vegetables.
Mr. Maraj believes if people continue to grow their own food, there could be significant positive impact on the food import bill.
Yes, there's fun, there's excitement in growing stuff, but there's also very important lessons about how we can manage food and nutrition security at the household level. And it became very alarming that although there was a lot of outreach in terms of people being unemployed and so on, and a lot of the food hampers were able to reach those most vulnerable among us. If we inspect those packages, you'll see very clearly that maybe every food hamper in this country is shared with an imported packet of rice. And that's very alarming. And you ask yourself, well, why are we not growing rice in this country in a way that could secure our eating habits and so on?
And among the items available at the market are heirloom seeds coming out of the gardening mom's own garden.
We try to grow things that people look for, but they can't usually find. We also try to educate people on like growing beets, growing carrots, things that we usually import, right? We want to be able to grow them locally now.
The third edition of the yard market also saw some like-minded entrepreneurs like Aliyah Ali, who found a way to help provide for her rescued pets in these economically challenging times.
Our Upcycle Pet Beds are a sustainability project that we started during the COVID-19 because my husband and I can't work with the borders closed. Our corporate work is to do with passing through borders. I'm in immigration and he's in export of perishables. So to maintain our 54 rescued and sanctuary housed animals, we came up with our Upcycle Pet Beds.
The Marajas say they hope to continue hosting the yard market at their home on a monthly basis. Stacey Ann Providence, TTT News.
In sports, we put our spikes on and head to the tracks. World champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce stopped the clock at 10.86 seconds in the women's 100 meters at the sixth staging of the Velocity Fest at the National Stadium on Saturday. Fraser-Pryce won section 1 of 2 ahead of Megan Tapper, 11.82, and Melanie Walker, who was running her first race since 2017, who finished third in 12.85 seconds. Reigning Olympic champion Elaine Thompson-Herah ended second overall in the event, having won section 2 in 10.92 seconds. In the men's equivalent, Johan Blake stopped the clock at 10.15 seconds to top the field with Ramon Barneswell second best on the day with 10.46 seconds. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching and do keep safe.